Hi guys, I picked this book out for Charlie and Elena and possibly for Quinn, but this reminded me of Charlie, who loves to accessorize. This is called Fancy Nancy, written by Jane O'Connor and illustrated by Robin Priest Glasser. And I am reading this book on Charlie's birthday. Fancy Nancy. This is my room before I made it fancy. Okay, so here's the before picture. Let's see what she did. Oh my goodness, look at all she did. I love being fancy. What are the things that she did? See if you can find what she did. She put up lights and all kinds of decorations, didn't she? My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. Well, what's wrong with them? Gotta have sprinkles. There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me to play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in a frilly toothpicks. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. What's a fancy girl to do? I asked my doll, Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. That's quite a name for a doll, isn't it? Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. What do you think she sees? So look at this flyer on the refrigerator. Learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. It's easy, fun, and free. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. Here's her class. So she's teaching them the difference between plain and fancy. Plain is yellow, fancy is gold. Plain is leather, and fancy is patent leather. Plain are glasses, and fancy are sunglasses. Soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the ad, and they want to get started right away. Look, she's got examples of fancy dolls and fancy shoes and fancy hats. They're going to learn a lot, aren't they? Even Dad's getting in there. The trouble is, my family doesn't own fancy clothes. That's okay. I go find what is that fancy word. Oh, yes, some accessories. Look at all the things she's going to help them with. What do you see? Beads and baubles and hair stuff and magic kit. Oh my goodness, what's she gonna do? Even Christmas ornaments. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a word. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at King's Crown, Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. She's so excited. Do you think your moms and dads would dress up fancy like that? There they go. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. Look at they walk in the restaurant. When we arrive at King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. Do you think that's what they're thinking? I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. Do they all look fancy? For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing! My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops, I trip and I slip. The tray does a double flip. Oh my goodness, what happens to the ice cream? It spills all over. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. Those are fancy words for bathrobe. I feel much better and I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. Love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy word or a better way of saying that. I love you guys. I hope you liked the Fancy Nancy book. No one knows fancy like Nancy. Love you. Good night.